Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am JayLee. This is JLeesCorner. This is my review for Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion Season 1, Episode 5. When this is reunion in, how many days they've been here, what is going on? Oh, gosh. But I'm going to leave it be. If it seems a bit dark and dim, y'all know my eyes, too much light. So I'm trying to have my light not so bright. Why is I just wear my shirt? No. Anyway, focus, girl. Get your work done. So yeah, it's a little bit dim because again, I don't want the bright lights so I can see y'all and talk to y'all or whatever, okay? But first things first, if you have not done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel to become a whole JayBird, dun 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 dun, and all that goodness and stuff. Do not forget to like this video, like the video. Thank you very much. You can also comment in the comment section. Hit the share button, share on your social media. Okay. You can also follow me on social media at J_Lees_Corner. I don't want to show my boobs, I want to move my shirt. The link to all of my social medias is in the description box below. You can also relax, relate, release, okay? Center yourself and everyone around you. Do not forget to inhale and exhale, because sometimes it's like a whole little thing. You got to breathe it on out or whatever. I usually rush through that, and I used to not rush through that. I'm going to get back to not rushing through the inhales and the exhales, because again, y'all would not remember or believe how much it helps you to just take a breath. Take a breath. Okay, let's get to the show. Do not forget, we will be live on my channel for Ladies First panel this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or whatnot. Join me and Jamie, that's me, and Nisi Dixon, and also Bondi Blue, okay, on my channel. And then next week, I think it'll be on Jamie's channel. So again, support the Ladies First panel, okay? Support us all. The four of us, we are the panel. Support us. Thank you very much, okay? Now back to the show. It was a good episode or whatever. Nothing happened, but something happened. Like I feel like it was two big things with Scrappy and Erica, and then with Mendeecees and his mama Yandy. But the episode started off playing Kurt Franklin's Stump. I'm like, they got some real good songs. They playing like real music, okay? You gotta stomp it on out if that's a good thing. Anyway, so they're having this whole little church event that Scrappy is hosting. People dressed up supposedly, and you see Mama D, her little church finest. Truthfully, this is just a hall with some chairs in it. They got some Bibles, because it's more like a Bible study than church. Okay, because Scrappy brings up how I'm saying the Lord has put something on my heart. Okay, so I want to be sure to share it with the world. The Lord is leaning on my shoulder with a word to speak, and I'm going to follow that mindset. Because when God puts forth a feeling over you to speak your truth, speak your truth. Okay, now also Scrappy daddy, his daddy is actually a pastor. Okay, a whole preacher. Now, Erica brings up, I was the biggest sinner up there preaching. I was like, Erica, I need you to do what? Shut the fuck up. Okay, Scrappy look good up there. Okay, I mean, Trick on the sideline, no thank you. But Scrappy looked like a whole piece of this. Scrumptious. Okay, Scrappy look good. Okay, so he's sticking in the right places or whatever. Come on, Scrappy. Come on. Anyway, but again, Erica, shut up. Now, this is happening right after they had the little block party. So everyone is a bit drunk and or high, hung over, and just kind of like, oh my God, I want to go to sleep right now. Because they, it's a party. So Scrap was talking and talking and talking and talking, okay, because he's giving his testimony, okay, what he felt on his heart to say to the people. Now, it wasn't that he was talking too much, but they say sometimes Scrap can be long-winded, and he was being winded very long or whatever. But I'm like, everybody's testimony is something different. I ain't like putting lipstick on y'all, so my lips are just, regular. But anyway, so again, he gives his stuff, and people in church always give long testimonies. Now, Carly didn't get up and she say grace. Okay, we see how each person gives a bit of their own testimony. Because Scrappy saying, I want everybody to say a little something. Like, you can talk for a long time, for a short time, but if you can just say something about what God has brought you through, or just what your testimony in life is. Okay, now we see Paris brings up how someone tried to break her spirit years ago, and she was feeling down and out. She was broke and destitute and a broken individual or whatever, but God brought her through it. I'm just gonna say, okay, y'all know I don't understand why Paris is here. Not in life, I mean on the show. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, you stole from somebody a couple of dollars and you got depressed because I think the humiliation from that, a part of coming through whatever you went through was owning your part and your part in what you could have done. Girl, owning the part you played in the situation. I still don't feel like Paris has ever done that, but I wish her well, okay? We do see Jock's son was like, I just want to move forward and always be good. He was talking, I was like, is he high? I don't know. But it was he said something real good and whatnot, okay? Mama D brings up how she wants to sing a song. And Mama D got up there and sang Surrender. Okay. I mean, can Mama D hold a note? No. Does Mama D look crazy? Yes, because Mama D is up there. Mama D packed a church outfit, because that's not nothing you can get from the Arizona souvenir shop. Okay, Mama D brought her best Fashion Nova Sunday service dress, matching gloves, handbag, purse, and curly wig. Okay, and she got up there and she sang a song, and everyone was laughing, not at her, but also not with her, but a giggle was being had by everyone there, okay? Now, Sierra gets up and brings up, Eric, God has changed my whole life, okay? I'm just happy and blessed to be here around y'all, okay? Now, we then see Mendeecees, okay? Mendeecees, he get up next, and you can tell he was nervous, sitting there knowing he was going to have to say something or whatever. And he brings up how his life was really, really crazy, how he doesn't always speak up because he feels awkward. He said, at times, I just feel like I don't fit in. And I'm like, I get that from him. Not that he wants to fit in, but he just kind of always feels out of place because of his life and whatnot, okay? Now, he brings up how God, he's like, God sent him to prison for a reason. And, it gave him time to reflect, to sit his ass down and think about life. And how much he has survived that we don't even know, truth be told. He said he was shot twice, stabbed 13 times, and people plotted to kidnap his son as well. I was like, damn, who stabbed you 13 times? When did it happen? I was like, man, what? 13 times is a lot of times to be stabbed, period. Okay, and to live to tell. And then it also shot twice. Anyway, he then brings about he was groomed to be a drug dealer from childhood. Okay, he said I was groomed to be a drug dealer before I even knew what drugs was. That's how young, people put him in the game, but we'll talk about that later. Now he brings about he did not have a father figure or a role model. All he really had was the people in the streets. That was his, example. He said how he's lucky to still be here. Okay, how he as a kid, he said, as a kid, I had to figure out sometimes how I was going to eat. Now, when he said that, Mama D didn't say, oh, why was that? You didn't have no food? Why that happened? And when I was like, oh, shit. Here we go. Okay. Now, he looked at his mom. Uncle Judy is there. He looked at his mom. And, he asked, like, Mom, you want me to say something? She's like, say whatever God wants you to say. Now, I'm just like, well, that means say the truth or whatever. He then said, well, my mom wasn't always around when I was younger, you know what I'm saying? And so that left me and my brothers fucked up sometime. I'm like, oh, shit. Girl, him. And he didn't say it in a shady way. He didn't even say it in a disrespectful way. He said it in a, that's just what it was. Like, she wasn't around or whatever. So Judy then is in her feelings. She then gets up. Well, I won't talk to. I'm gonna stand next to you because I'm like, this is his time to tell his story. But again, Judy feel like him saying that is dogging her out. I'm like, that ain't him dogging you. it really ain't. We're gonna leave that be or whatever. And so Mendeecees like, we know with mama, back in the 80s, okay, in the 80s, we would be left in the house by ourselves for days with no food. We couldn't find our parents, and so we would have to go to the neighbor's house looking for food. Judy then said, "What was your grandparents?" I said, "Judy, did you just ask your kid who said that you wasn't there? Where was your mama? Okay, what was his grandparents?" I'm like, "Bitch, now where was you at?" Okay. She said your grandparents had y'all, and if they wasn't at the house, you knew they were across the street. Just go across the street to get them. He said, "Mom, we was too young to know about, left, right, east, west, across. We didn't know any of that. All we knew was the person directly next door. We didn't have any sense of direction to know to go across the street back then. We were so young." And I'm like, It was like Judy felt like I have to defend myself based on what my son went through back in the day, even if we in a better position now. And I'm like, it's just bad. So Judy then gets upset. Okay, you need to learn when to not say stuff. I'm like, well, he asked you, and you then said, say whatever it is God wants you to say. God told him to say the truth. Your mama wasn't around back then because I these damn streets, okay? But anyway, she's upset. She also brings up in her confession that he has never confronted her or talked to her about any of this, and she's shocked. I'm like, I never understand how parents who weren't there assume because their kid never said shit, it didn't affect them. I'm like, that's dumb, Judy. And I'm not saying Judy dumb. I'm saying that's just dumb, Judy, okay? He like, well, you told me to talk, so how you upset that I'm talking, okay? And I'm like, Judy was embarrassed. She was basically embarrassed because, again, this is stuff that she went through in her early life, okay? And I'm like, girl, and I feel like Judy likes to act like she's a great mother, and at times she wasn't. At times she wasn't even there, and that is his point in saying that. Now, when all of this has happened, everyone feels some kind of way because they feel like Mendeecees is not ragging on Judy. Him talking really had nothing to do with Judy. It had everything to do with what he had survived in life. And a part of what he survived as a kid was his mama wasn't there all the time. Point blank, period. But again, he's trying to express himself. And you getting up to cut him off to interject and add your own 2 cents to try to defend yourself. But again, it had nothing to do with you. Okay, it was just a little bit selfish or whatever. So Mendeecees also brings up in front of everyone, Mama, you bounce back and you're like, don't be ashamed of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling my story. You are no longer in that place anymore. But again, that's what happened. That's what happened, okay? So Yandy also tells you, what I'm saying, Judy, whatever y'all went through, whatever you went through in your life to help him be the man he is today, that's fine, because again, it made him better in the long run. Even if it was hard for both of y'all, he is who he is today based on what he had to go through. It's fine. So Mendeecees and Yandy leave and walk away while everyone in the little barn or whatever is trying to convey to Judy, don't feel no kind of way. He wasn't talking about you. He was saying his story, which just happens to be connected a little bit to you, because you're his mama, okay? And Yandy and Mendeecees was out, outside or whatever. She like, you need to talk to your mama, okay? Because y'all have this unspoken, not weirdness, but a unspokenness. It was, I don't know, it's not a word, between y'all. And before that blows up to something big, you should talk to her about how you feel about whatever happened when y'all was younger. And I'm like, please do. But again, I like that everyone was like, Judy, that was just him saying his part. It really wasn't a dig at you. Okay, let's make that clear. Now we then see Erica and Scrappy have a little chit chat. Okay, Bambi walks over too. Now I feel like the conversation was either edited poorly, or they didn't say much besides they want to both be the best part of themselves for their daughter. They both want to get along, or they both want to be able to communicate, so that E-Money can have both her parents. They also bring up how sometimes she will not play both sides, but she'll be like, you talk to my mama, you talk to my daddy, do they know this, or do they know that? And feel like the conversation didn't really happen, but it did not happen. It was an agreement on, okay, we over this bullshit. Scrap brings up Scrap brings up to Erica that it meant a lot to him to see, his wife. What I appreciate? I appreciate that when Erica and Scrap was talking, and even though Erica was just calling her, Bambi, I appreciate Scrap calling her his wife. I appreciate him putting the emphasis on who Bambi is in his life. That's my wife. Not that I felt like Erica was being shady and just calling her Bambi, but I can appreciate Scrap making sure to refer to his wife as his wife. Because again, sometimes that goes a long way in letting your spouse know that you want to recognize them who they is when you're talking to someone who may not always recognize the fact that that's that man's wife. Anyway, so he tells her how, it meant a lot to him that, his wife and her had a grown woman conversation, okay? When he called over Bambi, who was sitting not far away, but still letting them have a conversation. But he calls her over too. He brings up to them both, I want to let y'all both know that I was proud of y'all for being more mature than I could have been. You know what I'm saying? How y'all did that was made me step up and be a better man to even, open this dialogue of conversation. And they just mainly said that going forward, they can be able to co-parent better and things should be smooth going forward. And Scrap brought up how, there's a weight lifted up off his shoulders based on him having this really, basic, calm, cool, collective, but really, really needed conversation with his baby mama. Okay, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Scrap. Go ahead. Okay. We see, Judy and Mendeecees in the room talking. We see Yandy and Erica in the room talking. Now, with Judy and Mendeecees talking, Mendeecees is trying to explain to her how he felt about growing up, what he went through growing up, and why he said what he said. He wanted to just explain to her his reason for adding the fact that she wasn't around to his story. You know what I'm saying? But Judy kind of wasn't trying to hear it. She kept trying to defend the reason she wasn't there. She brings up how, I was a young mother. I was like 16, 17 years old at that point in time. I was hanging out late, partying, drinking, coming in drunk too. You know what I'm saying? And I could have been I was doing all of that while my kids was maybe up looking for me at night and I wasn't there. But I'm like, the fact that you can remember, you recollect the fact that you was out drinking and partying because you were a young mom, but you acknowledge your kids was probably up late at night and you wasn't there. You left them with your parents who was also across the fucking street. Okay? So the fact that you can understand and recognize and realize and say out your own mouth that I know I was a young mom out partying and my kids was probably looking for me at night and I wasn't there. If you can say that, you should have no issue with him saying, sometime my mama wasn't there. What's the issue? Okay, now she said how he should have let her tell her story versus him telling her story. I'm like, he didn't tell your story. None of us knew why you wasn't. You could have not been there. You could have been at work. Well, no, because he said she wasn't there and they was hungry. But again, that don't matter. That don't matter. And his thing was, that was in the 80s. That was a long, long time ago, whatever. And so, she telling him, like, I was around and so-and-so was around and, my ex so-and-so was around. He said, man, look, you was with that man, whoever his mom was with for 10 years, who they looked at as their father, even though he was not their father, when him and Judy broke up, he never came back around to be that to them children. Like, they would see him, he would see us and not say shit to us because y'all had broke up. So you can't make it seem as if you wasn't there, but he was, because when y'all broke up, he left. And to me, that means you wasn't around to even realize dude wasn't there. Okay? Boom, pow, pow. Anyway, so they kind of talking a little bit and fussing a little bit because Judy keep cutting him off because she just doesn't. I think Judy feel like he gonna dog her. That ain't what he was doing though. So production, like, but let him talk or whatever. And he like, it won't work. Like, she not like, even he was like, well, look, I'll have a scene with anybody else. I can't do this because she not gonna let me talk. He brings up how she not gonna let me talk because she can't bear the guilt of what we're talking about. And until she can, ain't no point in having this conversation or whatever. Now, Juju gets up and leave and whatnot, but I like how he said she don't even get that what I want to say to her isn't bad. Like, because we've never had this conversation, she just isn't open to it or whatever. And, you know, I want to tell her that she was actually a survivor and that I know I get my strength from her, but she won't have that conversation. She is scared of what I will say, but I want to tell her that I appreciate what she went through that made her strong, that made me strong. And I'm like, see, and she don't even know. Now, when Erica and Yandy was talking, Yandy issue is Judy keep fucking with her, blaming her on her case or whatever, just poking, even though Yandy ain't did shit to Judy. Judy don't like the fact that Yandy is a good wife to Mendeecees, has never left Mendeecees, and is a good mom to Mendeecees' kids. Judy is jealous of the fact that Yandy is what she could never be in Mendeecees' life. A constant, dependable person. And for that reason, she likes to find fault in Yandy as much as she can. Even if Yandy ain't did shit. Okay, that's what that was. She brings up how, you know, she was upset that Judy would not let Mendeecees speak his truth based on her being, you know, offended over what he said. Erica, you know, who mom was not around, her mom was on drugs or whatever, she said, I get it, because my mom before was not ready to have that kind of talk with me either. And she would get upset and we would like fuss and fight until we were eventually able to have that full-fledged conversation. You know, it was very emotional, whatever. My mom cried, blah, 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 blah. But again, I get that she isn't ready to have that talk. But when she is, it'll be great for Mendeecees or whatever. And, you know, she tell you, like, you know, you have to kind of keep pushing forward because that's his mama and y'all gonna be family. And I was like, well, okay, whatever. Anyway, Yandy brings up how Mendeecees won't even, like, he's so, one, overprotective, and two, that he feel as if, one, he don't trust people, and he feel like he could lose them at any point because he's never had anything constant. So he's always in a state of, you know, I'm gonna lose my family, my wife, or whatever. They're gonna leave me, and I don't want that to happen. He's also very overprotective of the kids, and she brings up how he won't even let the daughter spend the night over anyone's house. And again, you know, I get it because I'm that parent. I don't want. She's like, because my mom was not around, I never want to leave any room for something to happen to my child because I wasn't there. So I was like him, I'm not letting her go any damn where. Because again, I can watch her with my own two eyes. Which to me means something happened to Erica when she was a kid that she did not want to happen to her child. Because her mama wasn't there. So, they cry. You know what I'm saying? Because she brings about, you know, because he has this fear of losing family. She feel like she's consistently having to prove to him that she ain't going nowhere. And like, what else I gotta do? I'm like, she waited for you when you was in prison. She ain't going nowhere. That was the perfect time for the leave. So, man, but again, Erica said, you know, it's going to be a work in progress for you to do things and also for him. So, y'all both have to just wait it on out or whatever. I'm like, that's nice. We do see April working with Trick. Why? I don't know why they... Any scene with Trick is dumb. Because Trick is going to say something misogynistic or something offensive about a woman. So I'm looking like, I don't know why April would even put herself in a position to be offended by him. You went to go work out with Trick in workout gear. Moving on. You know, we see Scrappy and Mendeecees have a conversation. And they both just kind of give their perspective on things or whatever. You know, he brings up how when he was 6 years, Mendeecees brings up when he was 6 years old that he was moving drugs because that's what it was. How he didn't realize that's what it was, but they was using him as a drug mule. He did not know what was in a package. He's been told to, you know, send here and there because he was 6. He was 6, okay? But again, in that life, that's all he knew. That's all he saw. So it was normal, but he did not get what he was being groomed to do at such a young age or whatever. He then brings up, you know, he was doing it, you know, for all them years. And when he was about 16, his aunt brought around some guy and introduced him, and dude was his birth father, who he had never met before, and who he also never saw again. He says, so for him, he never wants his kids to have that feeling of never knowing him or him popping up one time and then being gone. And I think that's why it was so hard for him to be in prison. But I'm like, okay. And Scrappy bring up, I get it. You know what I'm saying? You know, our parents do things to, you know, support us or whatever, or they go through their own shit. He brings up how Mama D back in the day was a pimp. Okay, she pimp hoes or whatever, and at the house they had to sleep in Mama D's room because the hoes used their room to turn tricks. But again, Mama D did that to make a living for the family. I was like, girl, sometimes you gotta pimp them hoes. And then lastly, we see Karla playing the whole little event of them. It was called Judy or Juve. It's a Trinidad. It's a Trinidadian like carnival type celebration and everything. So water guns, water fights, you know, paints, color powder, whatever, like color dust or whatever. And they all had a great time, dancing around, playing around or whatever. A good time was had by all, if you ask me. Yandy, and of course, like, you know, I'm gonna stay away from Judy because I don't want to fuss and fight. So when Judy would kind of walk around, Yandy would kind of just like walk away to, you know, not have to have any kind of fussing and fighting with Judy. Karla then brings up, you know, I want to celebrate, you know, my Trinidadian roots or whatever. You know what I'm saying? How Judy was in events where back in the day the slaves would put on masks and dance and party to mock their masters. And so that is where, you know, Juvie, I may be pronouncing it wrong. Is it the Juve or Juve? Is it Juvie? I think it's Juvie or Juve, whatever. But that's the point of that. And she wanted to kind of, you know, show that part of her heritage. Now, as she's saying that, Judy then gets up, because Judy loves to add to conversations or whatever. And she brings up how she is from Guyana, South America, and that they used to, like, they didn't have TVs or whatever. And, you know, they walk around barefoot. And, you know, she's also proud of that. Now, while she's talking, other people are talking. Okay, but we see Mendeecees saying to Yandy, I want to get that cup out of her hand because Judy had been drinking. And so he's laughing to Yandy saying, I want to get that out of her hand. Mama D then said, well, y'all should respect her. You know, y'all should not be. I'm like, but they wasn't, one, they was not the only ones talking. And two, Mama D, shut up. You the reason he had to answer them question about the food or whatever. Mama D always instigating shit. And so when that happens, Judy then saying, so Yandy out here and has been teaching Mendeecees to disrespect me. Which pisses Yandy off because, again, she ain't even say shit. So, again, why you keep coming at me and I ain't did shit, Judy? I ain't did shit, okay? And so Yandy walks off and she gets mad or whatever. And it's weird because it's like, why does Judy feel like Yandy is forcing the Mendeecees or teach? How could she teach? He's a grown ass man. Okay, he's a grown ass man. To insinuate that your son is so vulnerable or impressionable to have to be taught to disrespect you is asinine, Judy. And Judy is just, again, Judy don't like the fact that Yandy is to Mendeecees what she could never be. And just a constant in his life. And he trusts her. He's with her. And Judy feel like, okay, I have to keep compensating for me not being there. And in doing that, I'm going to also fuck with your wife. And I'm like, you best leave him alone, Judy. Leave him alone, okay? And so that was the whole episode. Okay, we will see what happens on the next episode. It looked like Fizz and April get into a fight. A physical fight. Girl, I was like, why are your titties out? Why was you running and jumping on someone and your girl? I may go live for this next week. I don't know. Anyway, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, all that good stuff. Gotta go. Peace.